All right, all you positive heads. On this week's Soul Share episode, I'm very excited to have Riz Mirza here with me on the show. Riz is a psychic medium and trance channel who has been accessing and sharing the wisdom of various spirit guides for over 15 years. Hey, Riz, welcome to the show, my friend.
Hey, brother. How are you, Brandon? Hey, everybody. Happy New Year to everybody.
Yeah, we're doing it. 2024 coming in hot.
It is. I keep, a lot. It's something really interesting happening for me, and I wonder if you guys feel it out there. Is that we're here in mid-January, and usually people say, "I can't believe it's already mid-January." In the past, but when I've been speaking to people, they're saying, no, this feels like we're pacing ourselves right now. It's almost as if we have gotten ourselves aligned with time, neither too slow nor too fast. Because every year it's always been like, I can't believe it's February already. I can't believe it's April, May, whatever. But
Yeah.
I think the thing that we have learned, especially in the last several years, since the universe said, let's all stop. And they did the vehicle of COVID to get us to all slow down and try to get on the same page in a very, I would say, in a very almost confrontational way. The universe said, no, we're putting our foot down. Everyone on the planet, for the first time in human history, it doesn't even beyond Christianity, Islam, Judaism, Hinduism, whatever movements happen in the world, this one event was the single event in human history that affected everyone in pretty much the same way at the same time. From people on islands somewhere to people living in the Bronx in New York City or in Santa Monica in California or in the middle of America or in the middle of China somewhere on a mountain. So this is talk about what is our path to oneness, guys. Sometimes it comes in the form of something that really distresses us and shows us how to value things, right? Value being inside your house. That's what happened during COVID. And then value being outside. Value cooking your own food, and then value when someone else serves it to you. This was a huge lesson.
Yeah.
You know, there were kids that started missing school instead of dreading going to school.
Right. What a concept, right?
Yeah, and we had great loss as well, but as we know, in the human kind of karmic cycle of growth right now, it seems that we tend to learn more through loss than joy, because joy sometimes seems very temporary. We get what we want, if we're lucky, how we want it, when we want it, and then suddenly that joy starts to shift into, how long can I hold on to this thing? Yeah, we meet the person that we really want to be with, and it's beautiful the first couple of days until we start to go, where's it going? Do they really care for me? Is this the real thing? This is something that we are reprogramming ourselves. And I think that channeling and all the thousands of channeling hours that I've done over the last almost close to 20 years.
Wow.
I can't believe it. The theme has been how to really reprogram yourself or deprogram yourself, going back to your original source code. Resetting. What happens when this machine, this technology that we're watching this podcast on, and it starts glitching, and then you bring it to the Apple Genius Bar, and they try everything, but then sometimes it's just, have you tried shutting it down for a while?
Yeah. Right. It's always the first thing to try, right? And
get off your computer, get off your processor for a couple of days. Maybe let's do something else. And so this is what I see happening, and it's exciting me so much as a shaman, is that we're 15 years ago, where people were kind of not sure about spirituality. They were using words like woo. And guess what? You go to TikTok now, and my two teenage stepdaughters are like on TikTok for so many years, and they're spiritual TikTok. So when they were sitting in channeling circles in our own home, and they were little, they were kind of like, oh yeah, the spirit guides talk to me and whatever, but they it doesn't register because their friends weren't into it. Now they're 16, 17, 18, and TikTok is talking about channeling, auras, astrology, Wicca, tarot, dimensions, aliens, Bigfoot, everything. And now they're like, oh, I've got those crystals in my house. Yeah, my parents have those crystals. Oh, I know all about that. Let me tell you about spirit guides. This is amazing.
Yeah. It really is. I've said that for a long time, having been on a spiritual path, my own awakening, I guess you would say, started 28 years ago now. And
you're only 25, so that's really amazing.
Yeah, I was, I'm 49 now. So whatever the math is there.
Look at you, brother, 49.
I just refuse to grow up. So,
Fist bump,
it seems,
man. Yeah. I love it.
yeah. It's a trip though. Exactly what you're saying. I remember early on in my journey, it was like reading about spiritual concepts and the awakening coming in. And,
Yeah.
I'd talk to anyone who'd listen about this stuff, and it was, a lot of like, that's interesting, or you're crazy, or, and people go about their daily life. Now, I'm go to a lot of transformational festivals and kind of in the conscious community, around that whole world. And it's like every 21-year-old's like, duh, of course I know I'm one with the source consciousness that creates and animates all things. Like, that's old news. And it's really interesting to see how it really has been the awakening that was foretold back then,
Yes. Look back on some of those channelings. Go back and read Sedona Journal, which is a great magazine, guys. It's been around for a long time. And I used to have my channelings printed in that back 12, 13 years ago. And back then it was for this little community. And they were talking about there's an awakening coming. Things are going to change. But it wasn't about suddenly the skies open up and rainbows come down and the angels come down, or even the aliens come down. It was about you're going to come out.
Yeah.
Not what's coming down to go into you. It's about you're going to finally let out the light of who you are, that you come from that you are made of that.
Yeah. Right. And like you sort of alluded to earlier, removing the things, the barriers that are keeping you from your truest self. It's less about adding and more about taking things away, I think.
Well, I got to tell you something. I find many great lessons in situations that people don't even know they're teaching me something, right? They're just talking about what they're doing, and I'm going, oh my God, that applies to everything. Yeah. So years ago, and I was in New York City, I was a little background on me. I was born in Harlem in New York. My parents came from India. I was born in Harlem, raised in the Bronx in New York. And great place for a shy Indian boy to grow up was in the streets of the Bronx in the 80s. Anyway.
I can imagine.
Well, it teaches you how to make use of being 6'3" and 225 pounds.
Very quickly.
You find your ground, right? So it was, I was going to go into WWE, or I was going to be a psychic medium. So funny story is that, so when I first started going to the gym, and I wanted I said to the guy at the gym, the trainer, I said, I want to get abs. I want to get a six pack. And he said to me, he goes, everyone has a six pack. And I thought, what kind of drugs is this guy on? And what do you mean everyone has a six pack?
It's under the donuts.
No one, clearly no one has a six pack, but only a few people have a six pack. And he said, Riz, everyone has a six pack. It's just you have fat covering it.
Yep.
Now, he didn't realize well, maybe he did, but he didn't realize where I was taking it was, we already have something, but we have, through perhaps some misguided consciousness of how we eat or how we take care of ourselves, we started gaining a lot of weight. Now, not everyone is supposed to have a six pack. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm just saying is that underneath what we have accumulated that weighs us down, there is this vital, lean, gleaming energy that we are. And so as we remove trauma, as we understand that everything is part of our soul's path, as we stop blaming ourselves or others or victimizing ourselves or others, as we start to say, I am actually in this moment in charge of how I feel. And that is the most empowering thing, and also really scary, because our programs are, no, it's because that happened and that happened. So how do we go from it's because that happened, instead of, like, see how I'm saying it? It's because that happened. Instead, it could be like, it's because that happened.
Right. Big difference.
It's because that happened. Like, look how you just say it differently.
Right.
And the moment you start to say it differently, the reprogramming begins, because there was a group text that went on, and I lead retreats, several retreats in different sacred places around the world for last decade. Anyway, there's these group texts that people still text on, even though the retreat was 3 years ago, and they'll still be like, Happy New Year or whatever. And someone wrote, oh my God, guys, I'm doing Happy New Year to you guys. I just got fired from my job of 25 years, whatever. And everyone rolled with sympathy. And I just wrote, congratulations.
Right.
So excited for you.
Right.
Because that's actually what I do feel, because I've reprogrammed myself enough for that.
Yep.
And then now we're like set up for a little conversation, a little pep talk I'm going to give him.
Yep.
And then he finally wrote, you know what? I'm kind of excited too.
Yeah. Why is this happening for me? This is the question to pose.
What I also like? Yeah. Why is this happening for me? And then, when you have heard people say, why is the universe doing this to me? And then we change it to why is, so the universe is creating this for me. If you have a vague, go deep here, if you don't really know what the universe feels like to you, maybe it's certainly not the physical universe of planets and galaxies. That's not the universe we're talking about. We're talking about the guiding force of all existence, the source, the force, whatever mother, father, God word you want to use. Is that if that troubles you at times, saying the universe, I suggest replacing the term the universe with the word my future self.
Yeah.
So instead of the universe is doing this for me, how about my future self is creating this for me to become that future self, which already is inside, which you surrender to by removing that which weighs you down.
Right. And you're tapping into that. Now you're aligning with that expanded version of self, higher self, however you want to refer to it. And when you're aligning with that version of self, you're seeing and perceiving reality the way it sees and perceives reality. And you are it, and it is you in a sense. Now the separation is removed. And when you're removing the separation, it's able to perform through you. I often say, our higher self, our expanded self, our future self is playing chess and we're playing checkers. So I can make moves based off of what I think with my limited little human mind is the best thing for me, with that healthy sense of detachment that, and this expanded version of myself is seeing a whole different way to move. And I trust that.
The upgrade. So we as a species, and I'm going to tell you something. So whether you're watching this podcast on a phone or a laptop or the screen on your TV, I'll tell you something. Both the phone, the laptop, and the TV are made, just let this land, and then we're going to dive a little deeper before we start channeling, is that these devices, your phone, your TV, and your laptop, are made from plants and rocks. Let's go slow. It's nice to hear it, right? But let's go slow. What do you mean plants and rocks? Yeah, what you're watching this on is plant-based.
Yeah.
The machine that you're watching this vegan. On is plant-based. It is.
Yeah, right.
Because what are the components made of? Glass, minerals.
Quartz.
It's all minerals, crystals. And what about the plastic? Plastic is made from petroleum, which is made from oil, which is made from millions of year old dead plants.
Yep.
So even the plastic. And if I were to take a molecule of this plastic off of this screen right now and put it under this electron microscope, guess what you would see? It's alive. It's not dead.
Yep.
So what is this life force? You go, well, that's matter. Well, what is matter? Isn't it intelligence with potentiality and capacity to exist?
Yep.
Yes. Clearly.
Yeah, we don't know where it comes from or where it goes to. When we zoom in far enough, it's vibrations that are intelligent and pop in and out so rapidly it appears solid.
Right. So guess what? It's made from plants and rocks. Human beings figured out over time, and a relatively short period of time, by the way, compared to the age of the physical universe, this is a very short period of time, that a human being, a species, over time figured out, I'm walking on these rocks and plants, and figured out how to make this. You try it. Go to your garden, and out of those rocks and plants, probably most of the minerals that are in your garden are in this computer anyway.
Right.
And go dig down far enough, you'll find all of them. So how do we figure that out? How do we figure out how to make sound silent? What do you mean? Well, that's what we do. That's how you're hearing this. The sound is being condensed into sound you can't hear. And it's being sent through the air. So it happens on your cell phone. It goes up to space, then goes to all these different routers, antennas, and receivers, and comes out almost in real time. So human beings figured out, now go back in time and imagine that there's ancient man and is speaking their language, And then someone says, I'm going to be able to grab that's in the air that you just spoke and uttered out of your mouth, those sounds. I'm going to grab it. How are you going to grab it? With your hand? No, I'm going to make something that's going to grab it. And then I'm going to be able to suck it into that mineral that I found out of the ground. I'm going to be able to hold it there, and I'm going to be able to play it back at any time I want. Now, some will say, well, that's just science, Riz. It's not magic? No, it's science. It's not magic. It's science. Well, maybe science is a magic you've not discovered yet, and maybe magic is a science you've not discovered yet. You're going to tell me that's not magical, that you made sound silent, but because you have a reason why. Now, so what is happening? The conscious community. What are we doing? We're talking about spirit guides. Do they exist? Well, every culture has told you they exist. Even religions have told you they exist. So even religions and all the indigenous cultures have told you they exist. But you say, well, I can't see them. Doesn't mean they're not there. Your dog hears a dog whistle that you can't hear. Doesn't mean that it's not there.
Right.
It exists on a frequency. So as you begin to quiet your mind and limit the type of frequencies that you're used to, which is noise pollution or too much technology, you begin to return to your true original essence, which is this very open receiver.
Yeah.
And your sensitivity in that receiver then determines, in a sense, really your personal power, because the most sensitive are the most powerful when they know how to use that sensitivity. So the greatest artists, the people who made this technology, were sensitive enough to know it should look like this podcast. We got to make the technology so that people really like to look at themselves, and the colors are right and the sharpness is right. The more sensitive these cameras are, the more they're valued, the more they cost.
Right.
You're not buying a more expensive camera because it's less sensitive. Its value is greater because it knows how to harness its sensitivity and project it out. And that's why you like the greatest music that you love, and the greatest art and literature and books and dance and drama and thinkers.
Right.
And your grandma. Or your loved one.
Right.
Or your dog.
Right.
We love their sensitivity. So that's what we're doing. That's how I channel. Some of the spirit guides that I've channeled over the years are very like big figures. Like Red Eagle is this kind of tree, like half tree, half tribal person that has been coming through me for all these years.
Wow.
Spoke to thousands of people, and he's very big energy. But at the same time, for me to bring him through, I have to be so sensitive.
Yeah.
So quiet. Like you could, it's almost like I go into a place where you could like easily hurt my feelings by breathing on me. Like you have to be like just so like tiny. And in that, I'll feel a little touch on my shoulder. They're ready to come through. And then when they come through, they're very bold. Or there'll be a philosopher, someone that I feel I will channel for you guys in just a little bit. His name is Fennias. And Fennias has even channeled an entire book through me. I went into trance.
Wow.
And I've done 4 books. My new book is coming out this week, actually.
Oh,
I'll
wow.
talk about it later. It's an ET channeling book. It's called The Echelon Speak. And they are a group of interdimensional beings that go into very great detail about the creation of the universe, the role of Earth in the galaxy and through other dimensions. So please look for it on my social media, which I'm sure you'll tell people.
Yeah, of course.
So going back to this, so Fennias is a philosopher. He's kind of, I call him the professor when he comes through. He's kind of got like a bit of a British accent. And I wish he had been my professor when I was in high school because I might have not cut out so much.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm curious when you began, your backstory a little bit before we go into that. When you began to channel and how did this open up for you originally?
I like the question. I'll put it really simply. Had my first psychic mediumship experience at 7 years old. I gave a message that I didn't know I was giving a message. I blurted out something at a family gathering with people I didn't know. And basically it was a detailed message about someone who passed on that I couldn't have possibly known at 7 years old. Wow. And I did. And that's where we became aware of it. But it wasn't, even though I grew up in a traditional Indian family where these concepts are very much accepted, my parents were more academics but also very sensitive people. So they didn't really try to interfere with that. They just let me be. I found my way through art and music. Growing up in New York City, I was part of the art scene, and I was a painter, and then I sang in bands, screaming on stage. And that's when I grew all the hair.
Like the other Riz I know.
Started wearing this eyeliner that I still wear to this day. Now it's more shamanic than rock and roll. But it was just me becoming myself. You know, what you see in front of you is just one, at this moment, the authentic expression of myself. And that's what I try to help people with, is that, listen, don't live in accordance with other people and how they think you should look or talk or walk or act. You came in as a very unique individual. You're not here to make trouble. You're here to activate, though. You're here to be activated. But you came in peace, you came in love, and you came in sharing. But you also came as a student of seeing how we behave as souls on this planet.
Right.
And understanding that this is a school of creation. Earth is a school of creation. Earth is a school of creation. Earth is a school of creation. Don't hate being in the school. It doesn't last that long. It's only 80 to 90 years. You sleep for a third of it.
Yeah.
You go to school for about 13 years of it. You are probably eating for about 4 years straight. I've done the math on this. And you go out, you get ready, you travel from place to place, and you're left, when you do all that math together, you're left with about 9 years where you're not doing any of those tasks. 9, if you live to 80. 9.
Wow. That's wild.
Look it up. Look up how we spend our years.
Yeah.
They've even done studies where they go, okay, you laugh for about 3.5 weeks. You cry for even longer.
Wow.
You spend 6 months just getting ready, putting your clothes on if you add up all the time.
Wow.
So this is amazing, right? This idea of time.
Yeah.
So I went on and on just to go back to it, guys. Sorry, guys. I just kind of wanted to share that with you.
All
the
good.
story just ended up being, I ended up at a channeling circle when I was 27 years old, which is a while ago. That was as you astrologers out there know, that's close to your Saturn return. The 27 Club is where a lot of celebrities have died.
Yeah,
right?
Definitely.
It's the number 9 in numerology. 2 + 7 is 9, the end of a cycle. 9 months in the womb. 360 degrees in a circle, add them up. 3, 6, 0, you get 9. Full circle. So you either tend to check out or have a big life change. I ended up at a channeling circle, wanted to ask about my musical career, and the spirit guide came through, the most amazing channeler in New York City. His name was Alex Murray. He's now since transitioned. And he said, well, you're going to end up in a chair like this. And I went, no, I'm not. I was one of those people at the channeling circle that was like, everybody else's message seems to resonate with them, but that does not resonate with me. I'm here to sing, my voice to be heard. And he said, no, your voice will be heard and other voices through you will be heard. I was like, you know what? I want my $40 back. So
that's hilarious.
But I loved the channeling. I thought the channeling was true, authentic, and real. I just thought I rejected the message. And so you guys know you guys have all gotten messages from the universe, whether it was through a healer or intuitive or through maybe yourself that you didn't want to hear. And you didn't believe. But time does tell. And when you get those messages, many times it is over the course of an era in your life that message unfolds in a much more profound way. Sometimes people tell me that I had a dream I died. Am I going to die? And I say, yes, but not physically.
Yeah.
Even the death card in Tarot is not about physical death.
Right.
So the channeling, whether I also say this after 20 years of channeling, guys, I tell people the purpose of channeling for myself and people like Bashar or Abraham or people who, I've channeled on the same stages with, is that we are not trying to convince people of the validity of spirit guides. That's not our thrust. It's really about whether you believe in spirit guides or don't, or whether you believe in channeling or don't. You, in my humble opinion, are a wise human being if you just listen and say, does this activate me and inspire me? Whether you get it from a fortune cookie, a channeler, or it's written on the side of a bus driving by you. If it's a sign, if you see it, it's for you. If you hear it, it's also for you.
Yep.
That's how I live. I just like to share that with people because there's a lot of, I noticed that with channeling, a lot of people are like, I don't believe in channeling. Or some people would be like, oh, I only believe in channeling. I don't even want to hear from a human. I only want to hear from the
To me, it's about the content. And you named like Bashar, who we had on recently, Daryl Anka.
Oh, yeah, great. Daryl and I were at the Global Channeling Conference on Gaia TV. It was, they had it's the top 5 channelers in the world to go on Gaia and have this message for humanity. It was incredible. Go check it out on Gaia TV. So it was myself, Daryl, and Sheila and Wendy.
Yeah, I had Sheila on as well, Gillette, and Abraham. You mentioned as well. It's like, to me, some of those like Daryl and Esther, hearing the content is like, this is profoundly inspired. So Indeed. It doesn't matter where it's coming from.
No, it's like matter.
Yeah,
even though it is the spirit guides.
Right. I mean, and I think to me that gives validity. And I'm not saying there's not people out there that are pretending to channel too, or whatever.
Oh, there are a lot.
And so
they are. They're just not fully.
Or think that they are, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, So I think when you look at the content and you see super inspired content, and things that feel like, wow, this is extremely
super inspired content.
Yeah. I think
you'll be seeing that, using that on my social media.
I like it. Please do. I'm glad you're inspired by the super inspired content.
So shall we channel?
I would love that.
Enough of me, man. Let's bring Fennias through.
Yes, I would absolutely love that.
And I feel him. He's like, hello. I don't have all
I'm ready.
Day. I have millennia, but I don't have all day.
Yeah, well, exactly. The conundrum. Please, Fennias, join us.
Let's do it, guys. I'm just gonna go in. It takes me just a few moments, but I would say that if you are so inclined and you'd like to just take this moment to slow everything down, drop your shoulders, and surround yourself with light, closing your eyes, taking a nice deep breath in through your nose. Hold the breath, drop your shoulders, and do a... As we bow our head, surround yourself with light emanating from the point between your eyebrows. This is your third eye. This is your divine quality, characteristic, and truth of the infinite that is you. As you surround yourself with light, join me in this blessing, great spirit of love. Thank you for connecting us through all these lifetimes, at this intersection of time and space that has led us to this now. And may we continue to learn how to receive better and to share and serve better. Thank you. All right, guys, relax, and I'll see you later. I'm Fennias.
Hello. Welcome, Fennias.
You are a miraculous creature. All of you. For you have willed yourself into physical form. Though some say it is free will, you are the will itself. You do not have it. You are in charge of where you go. You are not thrust into various experiences, though you feel that you have been forced to be a human, though you are a spirit. You often say that you are spiritual beings having a human experience, as if to be human is not divine, that to be human, that you are full of errors and malfunctions, and you are prone to glitching, and you cannot be what you are. And yet, you continue, for something in you is compelled. You are always searching for a way to be better, feel better, or to have more. Let us talk about it. You're always wanting more. Even if you want less, it is because you want more of something else. If you were to give up all of your possessions to say, I want to have less, it will be because you want more. If you are feeling ill, you need not say that I am sick. You may say something that is far more true, and that is, I am healing. Because that is what is happening on the cellular level. Your system is so intelligent. You have chosen a form that is very, very sensitive. You often wonder about the validity and the vitality and the strength of your own physical being. You're often worried about your health. And so, in that endless quest for what is the proper diet, proper exercise, understand that when you go into a state of subconscious worry, that every cell in your body is also reacting to this energy, that you are in a state of distress, that you are not where you should be, that the cells are not doing their jobs properly. And so, many times, those who are on the holistic path, you have seen them. Blessed are they, for they are your brethren. They struggle for their overthinking, their overattachment to how the body should be or what goes in it, drives them to a state of a certain type of low-grade panic. They cannot eat this or they cannot go there, that the vibrations of the food or the vibrations of the place are not of the highest. Now, that is true for a time, and certainly you can use this for your advantage. But to live a life like this can become quite exhausting. For then, at the very core of it, you are affirming that God is not all things.
Hmm.
And yet, perhaps somewhere in your intelligence, you believe or wish to believe that Source is all things. Now, how do you then forgive Source for all of her grievances? Perhaps you feel with you and your grievances with her. In your traditional religious beliefs, you feel that. Some of you feel that you have not pleased God and therefore He shall punish you. This programming goes very far back, even beyond this lifetime, for you have lived many lifetimes on this earth in various religious traditions. And so you, as an intelligent being that you are, carry these memories with you. Your own awakening is not to simply denounce those teachings, for they are simply opinions, perspectives. You do not need them to have you grow. Many times you are growing more from pain or force rather than the surrender to joy. And so when you are wishing to get well or healthy or simply perhaps be more fit, it is better then to connect to the celebration of what you are doing rather than to the condemnation of what you used to do. That energy will not serve you in the long run as the most, let us say, self-regenerating, holistic, and perhaps energetically, economically, the best for you. For your energy does not need to be wasted or spent on trying to fix something. Rather, it is your surrender. For that, as both of you gentlemen have discussed earlier prior to our arrival, that what is underneath is everything that you are. Now, since you are not spiritual beings having a human experience, what are you then? You are spiritual beings having a spiritual experience. Is it not that?
Mm-hmm.
As you are growing in your awareness and sensitivity, you realize in every moment, my goodness, every moment has something in it for me. Now, whether you call it a lesson or you simply say, I'm surrendering to the beauty, notice that gratitude is your key here. Powerful gratitude and even subtle gratitude. There is powerful gratitude for when someone pulls you away from the impact of an oncoming bus, let us say, and saves your life. You are sitting on the sidewalk, panting, gasping for breath. You are grateful. That is a very powerful, overwhelming sense of gratitude, perhaps when you held your baby for the first time. And then there is the gratitude that you have simply for having a home. That is a low-key gratitude. You're not in a sense feeling that with great robustness all day long, that you have a roof over your head. You need to remind yourself of that. And certainly with your internet and the communications and things that are shown on it, you have ample opportunity to be grateful. For each day you are scrolling through photos and news and videos of very talented people, also behavior that is perhaps very negative, and it is there for voyeuristic purposes, people watching other people behaving badly. And yet you cannot help it, for all of you are interested in stories. You are a storytelling and story receiving people, whether it is in the oral traditions of indigenous cultures, as you call them, for you're all indigenous to somewhere. You are indigenous to Los Angeles. You are indigenous to the Bronx. You are indigenous to Costa Rica. You were born there. You came through time and space to be there. Do not get too hung up on your ethnic background or the ethnic backgrounds of others, for you have been them and they have been you. You were not this body, nor this skin color, nor were your parents. This is your costume for now. You have been other ethnicities, and on what you call the other side, there are no ethnicities, and there is no religion. Do you think that spirits have an ethnicity? Though you hear I, Fennias, coming through, Riz as the channeler, with a certain accent that you place, perhaps to a certain geographical location, and I indeed have had lifetimes on the earth with you and as you. And yet it is but one of my expressions of my being that I come through to you. I have been, like many of you, your skin color, your age, and your demographic. But you may say that I, as the being that I and you call Fennias, am donning the apparel. You might say it is my favorite costume to wear, a very particular lifetime that I was very fond of. And you shall do the same when you are a guide for others. And so, do not get too hung up on your ethnicity. It is there for you to draw from and perhaps to have fun with, but not to make yourself better or different or to feel less than another. Your ancestors, when you call upon them, and perhaps this shall enlighten you a little bit, your ancestors are not the ones simply from this lifetime. You have ancestors from other races when you were other races. You also live multidimensionally. So what about those ancestors? Now, that keeps going. How many dimensions are there? Perhaps you will never know. Perhaps they are infinite. And if you are an infinite being and you exist infinitely in infinite dimensions, then think of all of the family that you actually do have. And that means, logically speaking, if you were to do the math, cosmic math, that you are all related and you are all one. That brings us to the word all one. That through your traumas and machinations, you have turned the term all one to become the word alone. And there is a great difference in saying I am all one than I am alone. Isn't there? So
Very different ways of looking at it.
Many times you must be alone to realize you are all one. But you will never be all one and say you are alone. But perhaps a period of loneliness is required to have the revelation of being one. Do you have questions? We are happy to address them.
Yes, let's see. Well, since we're here in the very first half of 2024, first half of the first month of 2024 as we're recording, I'm curious if you have any particular messages for the listeners and myself as we step into this new year.
There was an author by the name of Mr. Dickens, Charles Dickens actually,
Love
who
Charles
wrote in
Dickens.
a novel that it was the best of times and the worst of times. And if one were to travel back in time and ask those from 1986 or 2002 or 1941 or 1975 or 1821, if this was true, each of them would say, yes, indeed, it is the best of times and the worst of times. Why is that? Well, that is because you are seeing things in terms of contrast, what feels good and what does not. And so there is a distinction between that which is pleasant and unpleasant. That is different than what is right or wrong or good or bad. For example, you have never had a bad day. You have had unpleasant days. Each day is source in full robustness and vitality, bursting through your creaturehood, your intellect, your physical body, your non-physical body, at all times eternally. That is what you call a day, and that is what you call a year. So when you say, good riddance to 2023, Perhaps it was not a very good year, as you say. It indeed was a good year, for all that is good is God, and all that is God is good, and all is good. That means that even if you find it to be unpleasant or pleasant, challenging or quite flowing and easy, that distinction is important for you are never having a bad day. You feel unpleasant because things are not going your way, whether it was a very deep and powerful trauma that occurred to you or a loved one that is very painful, or it is simply that people spoke to you the wrong way, or did not hear you the way you wish to be heard, or something in your body is not feeling right. It does not make it wrong. And if you make this distinction, you will have a more flowing experience this year. That it shall not be a bad year, that it shall be a rewarding year, because you are seeing each thing as the potentiality of having a reward, depending on you and your reactions. And what is coming to light now is that the awareness that is dawning upon people is that they are often subject to their reactions. They are watching everyone in the reactive state of mind. Notice the word reactive. Spell it out in your mind, and then underneath the word reactive, write the word creative. They are the same letters, aren't they? Do it in your mind. And so when you are staying in the reactive mind, or the reaction, and not the creation, again, the same letters, then you are stagnant. Then you are losing slowly your vibrant pulse of existence. One must react first. You must have a reaction for there to be a creation. If your creation is done with peace, passion, power, then you shall have internal success, certainly. And that will be more valuable to you later than what you call outward success. For you may have outward success, but there are many people who have experienced outward success who have committed suicide, haven't they?
Many.
There was an artist in your relative recent past in entertainment by the name of Cobain. Are you familiar with him?
In the 27 Club we mentioned earlier.
Indeed. Let us take this example of this prolific artist. Wouldn't you agree?
Agreed.
And whether you are leaning towards loving that person's creations or not, simply put, whether you like his music or not, matters not if you are a student of creation. For that is a person who achieved all of your, yes, you who are watching now. That is a person who has achieved everything that you want. Let us say it. Number one, authenticity of their internal expression. Certainly, he had it, didn't he?
Absolutely.
It was clear for all to see. He also had his twin flame. Clear for all to see. Also a beautiful child. Clear for all to see.
Yeah.
He had achieved that which most artists, including those of the Renaissance, rarely achieved in their lifetime, and that is two things. Simultaneously, he had critical acclaim as well as the popular vote. Critical acclaim as well as the popular vote. Those two qualities are not bestowed upon most artists. You have one or the other, usually.
Great.
So he had authenticity, his twin flame, a child, great financial abundance, which brings you great freedom to live as you choose. You may live upon a mountain with fences around you and no one will bother you. Or you may see the world as many times as you wish, for as long as you wish, with whomever you wish. And how did it turn out?
Pretty dismal.
And so what was the issue? He made it wrong. He knows this as he has come through this channel before and expressed himself. And so he began to make it wrong. He could not receive it. It was all there before him. None of it was just below his standard. It was meeting his standard and far above it. He'd never expected to be a multimillionaire.
Yeah.
And so he began to make it wrong. And his opinions began to, you might say, proliferate and take up the real estate in his conscious mind.
Yeah.
It began to be too much for him. And so there you have a person who has everything that all of you want. Whether you are a business person or an artist, you wish for all of it. If you are a business person, you wish for your business to be respected and also to be received by the public.
Mm-hmm.
Does not matter if you're not an artist, you are a creator. Certainly all of you wish to have the twin flame relationship, for it is a great educational, inspiring, and activating force in your life. In children, certainly. And so you are learning how to process what you are receiving. That when you take your initial reaction, that you may turn it into a creation. Gandhi was angry at first at the injustices to his people and other people in South Africa. First, he had to be angry.
Mm-hmm.
That anger moved him to action, but he could not live a life with the fuel of anger. He had to come to his true beliefs, which were of peace, and that became the feeling that inspired him and others. Those who continue to use anger as their fuel shall burn themselves and others out. So you, my friends, in 2024, may simply ask for this for yourselves, that you are finding joy in the tiniest of places and the most unusual places, and places that you used to judge before. You are finding there is some magic even there. And that as you do that, you begin to no longer experience days that are too fast nor too slow. That you also begin to see that every moment that you have ever lived in this lifetime, you have never been in the wrong place at the wrong time, nor shall you ever be. Every moment was for you. Yes, even that one. And yes, even that one. And why must you say this? For you have reached a point where you are wanting the freedom that you so value. Notice that when you want to be what you want to be, and it gives you that feeling, that vibration, that reaction within you that feels good, notice that actually that is because it is a recognition from you to you about who and what you are. Your future self is sitting right here, listening, though you may be the one holding them hostage a little bit, holding them back. Let us say that you are driving the car and your future self or your true self is sitting in the back seat, the magical one that you are waiting for all of the environment and for the coast to be clear, for you to battle and slay the dragons, and then you shall let out this magical one that you have been protecting for so long. But, my dear friend, you do not have the time for this, nor does society. For this magical one is the one we need. Let them drive your car for a while. Take a break from your survivor mode. The one that is saying, I will drive us through these fires and these bombs dropping on us and get us to freedom. Disappear the car analogy. Take yourself out of this driver's seat and simply transport yourself in a meditative state that you are sitting now in a field of flowers. You do it in your mind. It's so easy. That you're not running, nor driving, nor escaping. That you're not here to somehow save this precious magical version of yourself. My dear, if this precious magical one is truly the magical all-powerful one, why do you need to protect them? They are here because they know they are love. They do not even need to be loved. Not in the sense that they cannot receive love, but that they have not come here necessarily to receive love. They've come to give it. Is it that you don't feel you have enough of this love? Or is it that you are sourcing yourself from a dry well of where you have had trauma? That is not the source for you. That was an experience. And you are not your experiences. You are, in essence, your reactions to them. For you may decide even the most painful, traumatic, and dramatic traumas were actually your training. That your trauma was your training. And now you may breathe this out in this year. And so that when you call your journey a healing journey, you may then now switch this term into your expressive journey. Why must it always be the healing journey? Your body will heal, your spirit even heals, the moment you begin to use the most powerful vibration on earth. Some may say Are you referring to peace? Actually, there's a vibration that is stronger, more powerful than peace. And that is called celebration. What is the reason you need to celebrate? Every day is your birthday and another's birthday. It is not simply the date that you were born. There is an anniversary of 20 years ago that you perhaps were born, that you lived, that you became more aware. And so when you get out of your head, as you say, and you turn your attention to service, whether it is as being a healer or whether it is you wish to open a dessert shop, you are still serving the people, aren't you? Putting some smiles on faces. This will pull you out of any anxiety. And so you may use your anger to lift you out of your chair and get moving, but quickly, as an alchemist does, transform that anger into returning to that you are a happy, peaceful, joyful, laughing person that is having a spiritual experience as a spirit itself. And so as far as the world politics go, you are seeing business as usual. You are just seeing it more in the open now. It was always this way. Now, due to the technology and a sense that people are, in a way, unashamed to express how they feel, you are seeing what you are seeing. Do not let it frighten you. It is simply that you are seeing that which was under the rug. And so, as that airs out and the dust settles, the universal truth shall remain. That you are how you react in your life. Your experiences and feelings in life will be due to your reactions, and your reactions are because you have certain beliefs about what you think is good, bad, right, or wrong, rather than you are here to be part of the unfolding and seeing how it twists and turns. That in each moment you are never in the wrong place at the wrong time, that in each moment you are divinely assigned to be there, and that you may breathe there. And you have the awareness, you are pure awareness, and you are receiving more and more intelligence from your guides above and within you to deal with those situations and to see all of the magic that is hidden. Or not all magic feels good. Even when there is a death in your family, it feels very painful. And yet a part of your deep spiritual DNA tells you there is something also profoundly magical happening as the spirit is now freeing itself. And so that is what you shall have this year. Allow it to come more quickly. Don't wait too long. With your gratitude and your service, you will snap out of your boredom and pull yourself out of your heads. And we are here to assist you. Bless you.
Amazing. Welcome back.
Thank you.
That was powerful and inspiring. Thank you for.
I want to listen back to that.
Yeah. I'm curious. Is it? Are you aware of everything that's being said, or are you?
No, I'm going way out.
Wow.
As you do channeling, and I've committed my whole life to it, 20 years.
Yeah.
I noticed that, especially now, more almost every time, it's almost as if I'm in another room and I hear muffled voices somewhere else.
Interesting.
Listen, we have this in our capacity as beings, okay? Our tribes knew this thousands of years ago. We all used to be in tribes, remember? There was a shaman, there was a seer, there was a medicine woman, there was elders. No matter what skin color you are, you come from that culture originally.
Yeah. I had this. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry, no, go ahead.
I was going to say I had a channel on the show recently who was like kind of went into talking about that, and it's something that I've never, obviously I'm done over 2,000 episodes of this show where I wax poetic about consciousness and the ultimate nature of reality, and have inspired and helped a lot of people to wake themselves up or remember, if you will. And but channeling is always something that's like, oh, I want to remain Brandon. It's not something that I've ever felt like was a part of my calling. But she was like, she was talking about this very thing. Now it's a lot of us, and she was like, this Brandon, and I've had a few now tell me this is something that you are intending to do, whether you want to or not.
No,
and
okay, can I say something really wild
sure.
to you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm going to ask you to share something a little bit personal. So, who is the person on the other side, it's usually a person on the other side that you trust the most, like really is in your heart that you like, this person's got me. Who would that be?
My grandmother.
Okay, so grandma comes to you tonight in a dream. She's got maybe two spirits with her made of light. She shows up at the foot of your bed. And she says, son, you are actually Michael. That's your real name. And you have been channeling Brandon for 49 years.
Yeah. Right.
This is grandma telling you this.
Wow.
And she touches your hand. She goes, just listen. You're a multidimensional being. And I know this thing about you want to remain Brandon, but actually you're even more than Brandon. Brandon is just your expression right now.
Yeah.
He's the car you're driving. You created him because he is you, but there's also more of you. And channeling is simply you are expanding into multidimensional selves. I know that these guides are different beings than me, but I know that we are connected somehow on a higher level.
Right.
I call it the oversoul.
Yeah. Right.
So this freedom of identity, it's kind of what's happening in the world socially on a different level right now, but it ultimately goes into like, who are we? What are we? What are we defined by?
Yeah.
So this is great. This is, I'm so glad to be here, man. This has been so much fun.
Oh, so much fun. Yeah. And, you know, one of the things as we sort of wind down here is this, I always ask for a story of synchronicity or serendipity or a positive paranormal story. And it's funny because with you, there's literally like a few synchronicities on my end that I can bring up in this moment that ties into our conversation.
Sure,
so
please.
Normally it's all about your story, but maybe we both take a moment, but yeah. So, as I mentioned to you, I don't remember if the mic was on when we talked about this or not, but a big character in my journey was another guy named Riz. Riz Story was his name. And he produced, I was in a band called Kundalini, and he produced our album. This is, early 2000s. And one of the most talented people I've ever met. And then I look at you and I'm like, oh, I can feel there's a connection there. He wears eyeliner. He was in a band called Anyone that got one of the few artists that got 10 out of 10 in Rolling Stone back in the day. And their album came out on, I think Roadrunner Records at the time. He was about to sign with big. He was going to sign with Korn, who at the time was huge. This is late 90s or like 2000 timeframe. And he ended up signing with Roadrunner. And then 9/11 happened. And then their music was about to get this big push. He's such a talented guy. And he's one of the people I always think back to, he went on to make films and things. And I always think, man, what a talent. And that's a great example of someone whose ego really, I feel like, got in the way of their potential, and, yeah, it's just interesting. You're like, oh, I was in a rock band and I was screaming because Anyone's kind of heavier, and like he was the singer.
Yes, and I agree. You're right. You said, but sometimes when our ego gets in the way, and God bless all of us who have to go through that, it's almost like, but you have to have a very strong ego to get in front of people.
Yeah,
but
right.
You have to have a strong sense of self, because the moment you put yourself in front of people, there's judgments. It could be, I don't like that symbol. What's that symbol on his jacket?
Yep, right.
Talking all this nice stuff, but let me tell you, the roots of that symbol on the jacket are actually satanic. I mean, the stuff that I've heard. I have a tattoo, of the eye of God, and someone wrote, I love all your work, but why do you have that Illuminati symbol on your arm?
Right.
I think you need to do some research.
Yeah, right.
Because this is the trinity of body, mind, and spirit, and also the pyramids of Egypt, and this all-seeing eye is actually, you can find Renaissance paintings where this was the eye of God, and Jesus is standing in front of this. Yeah. So am I going to take this off my hand because somebody thinks that? My life isn't based on other people's beliefs. It's based on my beliefs.
See, you've got healthy, balanced ego, right? Well, in a good way, like that, like self-worth, and someone like using him as an example, whereas it was completely out of balance, in my opinion.
And it happens, and you could go to the heights of success. You could become the ruler of a country. You could become anything. We've seen it throughout history. So this thing of ego is really just about an identity that we think is taking care of us. And then we just keep doing that version of ourselves. So I like to kind of like take away any heat from that when we go through it, because all of us have gone through, look, if you're eating Doritos and 7-Up your whole life, that's a certain junk food ego. And then you switch to raw food and juices, and then that's the raw food and juice ego. It's just your interface with how you're seeing life. And then as we become more compassionate to ourselves and others, right? So I'm turning 55 this year. And one thing that I've learned co-parenting kids and being with the people and being in a twin flame marriage is that you have to let and it's a daily lesson, by the way, you have to let people affect you.
Yeah, right.
You have to let them affect you. And it's in those interpersonal relationships, it's the hardest. It's almost easier in public because you can just tell people to screw off if they don't like you or they judge you. But when you find that you're experiencing this in your interpersonal relationships, this is where all this work can be done, you know, and certainly in creation. But we have so much more to talk about. Like, there's going to be a part 2, I think.
Yeah, I think so, because I want to share. Okay, so one other synchronicity that is pretty powerful for me is you're talking about my grandmother, and there's so many tie-ins because I literally woke up the other morning with, and you said literally had a son, you know, being referred to as son, first of all. And then second of all, I had my first, I know you're also psychic medium, and I had my first mediumistic dream maybe 2 months ago. And it was, okay, so that's Charlie Chaplin behind you, that little doll?
Actually, so now you are being medium mystic and mediumistic right now, because that's Edgar Allan Poe.
Oh, it's Poe. Okay.
But here's what's interesting. I have channeled Chaplin, and he's one of my guides, and he has appeared synchronicity at the most amazing times in my life. And so right now, guys, Brandon is hitting that psychic button in his third eye. He doesn't even know it.
Yeah, wow.
So that's Edgar. By the way, check out my Edgar Allan Poe channeling, which was in the Bronx.
Wow.
At his house is in the Bronx. It's on YouTube.
Wow. Yeah. So I took
Can I invite you guys to something? Can I talk? Can I talk about this cool event that's coming up?
Yeah, please.
So I lead retreats to India, Egypt, New Zealand, Ireland, all the places, Mount Shasta, Sedona. But we have one coming up in Joshua Tree, which is where I'm channeling extraterrestrial beings.
Oh, cool.
And it's 2-3 days out in Joshua Tree. You guys are invited. If you'd like to join us, please just go to my social media and just send us a note that you're interested in that, or just go to my website, rizmirza.com. It's going to be a fantastic time. We're going to actually be calling in the light ships and the UFOs. We're going to be channeling information that we're downloading.
Amazing. I'm interested in that personally. That's close. We're both in LA, so yeah, we'll talk about that. But yeah, I would love to, as a last thing, to hear a story of synchronicity or serendipity from you, and I'll just complete just to share with you. So when my son was 18, I took him to another psychic medium, Colby Rebel. I'm not sure if you're familiar with her or not, here in LA. And she was like, "Oh my gosh, Charlie Chaplin's coming through. This is his spirit, my son Bradley. This is his spirit guide. And I've never had a celebrity spirit guide." And then he's going to be this huge actor. And, now he's 25 and he's been in like 50 productions in the last couple years. He won Best Artist in an Indie Film, and he, and I just had a dream a few weeks ago where my grandmother came through with my grandfather and was like, "I need you to meet this person." My grandfather is like my friend from World War II. My grandfather was at Pearl Harbor when it got bombed, and so he told me the guy's name. I looked the guy up, and he's a real person, and he was a famous actor who first won an Oscar after he passed, and then scrolling down, and he was in a gunner in World War II, and this is on his Wikipedia. Hours later, I'm going to go play tennis, and my son and my grandmother was with him in the dream too, who we just talked about. And hours later, I'm going out the door to play tennis, and my son texts me, "Hey, Dad, I just got a last-minute audition request for a World War II thing. Can you help me? It's got to be turned in an hour." So I canceled my plans. We did it. 2 days later, he's in the bunker. He gets the role. He's like, in this World War II gunner. And it was like mind blowing to watch it all as it's kind of unfolded over time.
Okay. So here's the wild thing. Okay. Ready for my synchronicity story?
Yeah, please. Please.
Because it has to do with Charlie Chaplin.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So this is a double whammy.
Of course.
So before I came to LA 16 years ago, I was having a huge awakening. I knew something was coming. And a friend of mine who is a psychic in New York said, "Let me do a little reading for you." It was just like off the cuff. We were sitting in a cafe. And I said, "Great," because he was a good psychic. And he goes, Yogananda Gandhi, and Charlie Chaplin are coming through for you.
Wow.
This is huge. I mean,
Wow.
3 major figures. And I'm sitting there going, what? Okay, what's the message? He's like, they're going to build, they're working on creating the life for you out in Los Angeles. Now I lived in New York. Okay, so I wasn't planning to move to LA. Wow. Like, but they're saying, go west, young man. You must come out here. And Yogananda's setting it up for you. And Charlie Chaplin is going to be there with you.
Wow.
And Gandhi. And now I had a trip to Northern California. And I was doing some art. I was an artist. So I was doing some work in Northern California with a friend. And they were staying at like a house they were renting. So long story short, I just said, when I was going to that house, I said, they said, do you need anything in this like Airbnb? I said, no. I said, do you have a DVD player? This is back when DVDs were around. And they said, no, but we'll put one in there for you. I said, thank you. I got a bunch of DVDs I could just watch. That's all I need. They're like, yeah, we'll put one in there for you. Fly from New York to Northern California. Take a taxi to the house. Keys under the mat. I go in. And of course, I'm like, I wonder if they did what I asked them to do. So I had my suitcase in my hand. I looked over at the TV and there's no DVD player. And I'm like, the one thing I asked them to just as a courtesy do for me, they didn't do it. Well, let's see what happens. But I see that there's a DVD on the TV. I'm like, why is there a DVD on the TV? There's no DVD player. So I put my suitcase down. I walk over. I pick up the DVD and it says The Life and Times of Charlie Chaplin.
Wow.
And I'm like, what gets better? Randomly, for no reason I can even go into now, I took 2 days off and flew from Northern California to LA to visit. Didn't know anyone. Ended up going to the Lake Shrine, which is a center that Yogananda Center was. I didn't know it was Yogananda Center. Someone just told me, go, there's a spiritual center over there. You can go there. Go there. I'm walking around Yogananda Center. I'm in the bookshop. And I'm looking at these books on a shelf. And on top of the books, there is like a VHS tape. I'm like, why? I'm like, people still watch VHS tapes. So I reach up on top of the bookshelf in the gift store. I pull it down, and talks about the opening of the Lake Shrine Center. Stay with me, guys. Flip it over. It says, on August 20th, Mahatma Gandhi's ashes, part of his ashes, were interned here. August 20th is my birthday.
That's my ex-partner's birthday, too. I have a lot of crazy synchronicity with.
We got to talk, Brandon. Okay,
yeah.
So just remember, the Spirit Guide's message was Gandhi, Charlie Chaplin, and Yogananda. Already got the Charlie Chaplin in Northern California. Fly to LA, go to Yogananda Center, and my birthday is written on the box.
Wow.
And Gandhi's ashes were interned on that, part of them were put into that center on that day.
Wow.
Then I find out that Charlie Chaplin once owned that land too.
Wow.
So guys, this is the Spirit Guides work in these incredible.
I mean, look at how entwined. I mean, we're literally reflections of, and we're really good at pulling them out, and then it's like the more we pull out, the more, I mean, I could tell you the August 20 story that's like jaw dropping and, and how it ties to my birthday, which is like the craziest synchronicity. It's like a 10-minute synchronicity story. It's like, it's wild. Yeah. Definitely for next time. We'll do this again. And what a joy, what a pleasure. Thank you so much for sharing and
for having me,
helping to elevate the vibration. You are such a gem.
Much love to you guys. Be well, everyone.
Yeah. And one quick thing before we do sign off, can you throw out where and the best place for people to connect with you and follow you? And
Instagram is great. Psychic Riz the Wiz with underscores between them. And my website is easy, rizmirza.com, RIZMIRZA. And you'll find me. I do psychic readings by phone. I do private channeling sessions. I do sacred plant medicine journeys. I've led over 2,000 of them for great trauma relief and healing, as well as my sacred earth retreats. So thank you, guys.
Amazing. Okay, one final question. In 60 seconds or less, what is the meaning of life according to Riz Mirza?
I believe that the meaning of life is that surrender is your way to victory. We are taught that the word surrender is a bad word. The army surrendered, the other team surrendered, but surrender is the most powerful word you can use, because you can surrender to the music if you want to dance. You can surrender to love if you want to feel it. You can surrender to the embrace of someone if you want to just let go and feel good and receive. So surrender is the only way you will be victorious. Surrender to your sensitivity, surrender to your love, surrender to the air. That's how you breathe better and not have a panic attack is you have to surrender to breathing. So what I teach through all of my work is how to surrender more powerfully and more peacefully.
What a wonderful message. Thank you, my friend, for taking the time. Such a pleasure. Nice to meet you again for the first time, as I like to say. And
I like that, brother.
thank all of you for tuning your beautiful brainwaves and incredible hearts into another episode. Until next time, journey well.
Namaste.